This week on Dance of Joy, we mention memberberries, hate on hydrocarbons, and ponder the party punch process. All that and more as we watch Season 4, Episode 8 of our favorite 80s hit sitcom, Perfect Strangers. Hello and welcome to Dance of Joy, a Perfect Strangers rewatch podcast. My name is Imran. I'm one of your hosts. Joining me every week, my sister Sophia. How's it going, Sophia?
Hi, Imran. It's going well. You know, it's been like over a year we've been doing this podcast, and I was just thinking back. Remember when we had the idea and we got excited about it? And then remember when we did the first episode? And then remember a couple times we couldn't stop laughing at things and we messed up a lot? Those were good times.
Remember last week when you introduced the show and you said, "Hi, I'm Sophia, and this is my brother Imran"? That's great. That was so
remember
great.
when we started talking about Dimitri Sheep?
Remember when Balky did something funny? And we were like, that's funny.
Remember when we appreciated all the physical comedy?
Memberberries is a great thing these days. Very popular fruit amongst pop culture nostalgics like us, right?
Yes.
And this episode is full of memberberries, and it's a great segue to season 4. No, memberberries was made up on South Park. They do a whole gag, and it's actually like a bunch of berries that talk, and they're like, remember Star Wars? Remember Chewbacca? The other one goes, I remember. Oh, I remember.
Remember when we pressed record 5 minutes ago?
Remember when we started this podcast? Oh, I remember. I remember. That's from South Park. It's memberberries. Anyway, season 4, episode 8, titled College Bound, full of memberberries. Why?
Memberberries.
Well, tell the listener what it says in the TV guide there, sister.
It says... Or it said in 1988 about this episode, while Balky takes his college entrance exams, Larry and friends prepare a surprise party and reminisce via clips from past episodes about Balky's introduction to life in America.
Oh, I remember. I remember these clips.
Also, in 1988, did you have to... What are college entrance exams?
I guess,
Was that a thing that existed then?
That's how you get into college, right? Don't you have to think I went to art school, so it was a portfolio review.
Yeah, we had an application and SATs and stuff, but not like a specific.
Nowadays, if you could pay for college, you're in. Come on in.
You just send them your parents' bank account.
You got the money, you got a loan, great. No, come on. Here's your room. You share it with 12 other people.
But yeah, you're right. Presumably it's like a college where you pass tests to see if you got in. And this episode, of course, is starring a bunch of people because there's flashbacks. But the people who are in the present day scenes we have Balky and Larry, Jennifer and Marianne, and we also have Lydia and Harriet, played respectively by Belita Marino and Joe Marie Payton.
Solid 6-man ensemble, 6-person ensemble there. They always deliver. This episode aired December 9th, 1988. Ooh.
We're almost to the end of 1988.
Yes, we are. Also, Perfect Strangers listener, of course, streaming on IMDb TV for free, or just like on your Amazon Prime Video. If you get Amazon Prime, which I just discovered, it's the same thing.
Yeah.
Like, you don't have to go to the IMDb app specifically. You could just go to your Prime Video.
That's good to know.
It's there, added to your watch list. Very simple.
Maybe we should be college bound.
Duh. Yeah, I got to go back to school and take technology courses.
All right. So this is a really simple setup for the episode. It's basically a compilation of flashbacks. And we talked about this last week. The reason was that Bronson Pinchot had gotten an ear infection from the quicksand that got in his ear.
Yes, Bronson got quicksand in his ear, gave him an infection. He had flown to New York for interviews, could not fly back to shoot the majority of this episode, which last episode was the quicksand episode. I just want to share this real quick. This hilarious comment from listener Tom O'Halloran left on our Facebook page about that episode. He said, as a kid, the 80s tricked me into believing quicksand was everywhere, and I was bound to end up in it someday.
Yeah.
Yes.
Not only the 80s, as we talked about, even in the reruns we were watching of sitcoms when we were in the 80s, the shows from the 70s and 60s, there was always quicksand everywhere.
Where is all this quicksand we're supposed to be looking out for?
Also, by the way, on all of those shows, when the people fell in the quicksand, they sank very slowly. So I don't know why it was called quicksand. It should have been called slow sand.
Tom, I have the same paranoia because of the 80s,
Yes.
so I feel you. Thanks for that comment.
All right, so we don't have Balki in most of it, but here's the situation that they've set up. Act 1 starts, we're in the apartment, and the living room is decorated with all these
There is some
banners.
kind of party going on, clearly.
Yeah, they're waiting. It's like set up for a party in the way that I guess 20-something young men threw parties in the 80s with lots of streamers and
that say
banners and balloons.
congratulations. Yeah, it says congratulations, Balki. There's refreshments.
Hors d'oeuvres, food, and there's a bunch of friends sitting around and preparing for this party that's going to happen. Yeah, the banners say congratulations, Balki. So then we go to Harriet. They're at the kitchen table.
And we learn how to make some punch, an 80s recipe for punch. Classic.
Harriet and Lydia are making punch in a punch bowl, and Harriet is pouring like a pink red soda or something into the bowl that has ice cubes. And Lydia comes out and she's with some ice cream, and she's about to put ice cream into the punch.
Yeah.
Does you put ice cream in
Remember
punch?
you go to those parties and there'd be like sherbet or ice cream floating in the punch?
Weird.
This is definitely like a 80s kids
80s
party
thing.
punch recipe. I don't know if people still do this, but it was nice to get like a cold, creamy ice cream bit, kind of like a float.
Oh, like a float. And Harriet gets mad at Lydia. So here we get a little bit of their dynamic injected. And she says, don't put the ice cream in now. It's going to melt before Balki gets here.
Yeah.
And then Lydia says, well, but you're putting the soda in. And Harriet says, but the soda doesn't melt.
She's
She goes,
right.
don't you know anything about making punch? And then Lydia makes a fist with her hand. And she goes, oh, I can make a punch.
Oh, threatening physical harm,
Watch
are we,
out.
Lydia? Oh, my God.
Yeah, these two ladies are...
I'd pay to watch them duke it out, maybe in a cage match. That'd be fun. Like women's of wrestling, worldwide women of wrestling style.
Glow.
Yeah,
glow.
glow.
Crossover. Yeah.
Anyways, in the meantime, Larry is standing by the fireplace looking worried because he thinks he should have gone down to the school with Balki to help him. But Jennifer's like, no, you have to let Balki do. This is one of those things he's got to do on his own. And Larry says that getting into college is very important for Balki. They all sit on the couch talking about college. And Marianne goes, gosh, Balki going to college. It seems like he just graduated from high school. And Jennifer, of course, goes, he did just graduate from high school. And Marianne gives a little beat and goes, all right. And then we get a great Marianne moment of clarity. She goes, I don't know what the big deal is about college. I went to college, and other than learning how complex hydrocarbons are broken down to make glyceride, I didn't get a thing out of it. Wow, that's pretty good. I don't know how what she said.
She
studied
in college.
Glyceride, yes.
Yeah. So that's the little pre-conversation, little opening situation. And then what Larry says next kind of sets up the rest of this show. He says, wow, I can't believe Balki's come so far so fast. If you'd have seen him when he first walked through my door, you wouldn't have thought he was college material. First of all, what? Like, what? Did he just say Balki was like a total fob?
Yeah, he was fresh off the boat when he showed up, and
he was dumb, and you wouldn't have thought he could ever go to college.
Yes, that's kind of what he just seemed to imply, which takes us to the first flashback of the episode.
And we get like a wavy effect in the video, and we get that like
it melts
that sort of like alien dream sequence music as well.
And this first flashback is from the very first episode, in the very beginning, season 1, episode 1, titled "Knock Knock, Who's There?" And it's the first time Larry opens the door to let Balki in. And I think it's not going over this clip. We talked about this. You can go back and listen to our episode. Everybody's seen this. Let's just give some of the highlights here. The whole clip is kind of a highlight because there's some funny jokes that they bring back
obviously
up.
it's like the it's not the first scene in the episode.
No, that's
if I recall
him.
correctly.
That's him opening the potato chip bag.
Potato chips, but like it's our introduction to these two characters. It's our introduction to Balki. So I noticed that like the accent Bronson Pinchot's accent had like evolved a bit since episode 1.
Because Larry,
yeah. and he asks, "Are you Larry Appleton?" And he's like, "Oh, I've been looking everywhere for you. I walk the street." This is what I recall, like this journey he lays out, and then how he's like, "I walk the streets, I search the alley, I say to everyone, 'Have you seen Larry?'" And he's like, "You don't know how many people have never heard of you."
That's a good joke. And then we also get, again, the actual relation between Balky and Larry.
Which is that he says, "I am Balky Bartakamus. Philo, my fifth cousin 3 times removed, is the step-uncle to your father on my mother's side, 2 continents removed."
Larry's like, "I see, so we're sort of related by rumor."
Yes.
And then again, now the Burger King joke is great, where Balky goes, "America, land of my dreams, home of the Whopper."
Yes. Okay.
And that's the whole first flashback clip. We go back to present time in the apartment. And Harriet, having heard this, goes, "You mean that's why you two got to be roommates? Balky just showed up on your doorstep one day?" And Larry's like, "Yeah, he was a real babe in the woods." And then we get Larry explaining some more about how he taught Balky about women.
Oh,
He
boy.
tells them that Balky had no experience with women. "I had to teach him everything," he tells the group.
And then Jennifer goes, "Wait a minute. Balky told her," she says, "Balky has told her about the time pre-Jennifer and Marianne when Larry took Balky to a singles bar."
Oh,
and
yeah.
then Larry's like, "Whoa, whoops." And she says, "The way Balky tells it, you were both babes in the woods." And then this is how they start every flashback. She said, she just starts telling the rest of the group, "You see, Larry took Balky, blah, 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 blah." And then we get the wiggle effect and the music.
What's funny is this is her telling of a story from Balky, and it just goes, that's incredibly accurate.
Yeah, because who
Even though
else
she
in
wasn't
that
there.
group would be able to
Nobody
tell that
else
story?
would-
Just Larry,
nobody-
but
yes.
he wouldn't
This is
offer up that
a
story.
third-hand story. Balky had all the details. This second flashback of the episode comes from the third episode of season 1.
Yes.
Season 1, episode 3, titled First Date. And it starts in that swanky 80s nightclub with the great line in the beginning where Balky's like, "So this is one of your American mating places." And Larry's like, meeting. A meeting place. We meet here. People, they mate somewhere else.
And there's so much good stuff in this in this clip, this flashback. There's a lot of physical comedy. There's a lot of good lines. There's Balky trying to be cool based on what he's seen in like movies and TV. And so if you recall, they're at this bar. It's very green and
lots of green. Larry's in his
lime green ensemble.
Looks like a giant M&M. Green M&M he does. Yeah.
Ensemble. They're sitting at the bar and he's telling Balky all the rules. Like, first you make eye contact. Then you go over and say something like, "Do you come here often?"
He's explaining game to Balky.
Yes.
You gotta have game, Balky. This is
and
how
Larry
it works.
has no game.
Of course not. He doesn't like to meet people. He's very uncomfortable. And Balky tries, and he's relatively successful, but then Larry tries because there's this girl looking at him.
No, he's not successful. He says, "Do you come here often?" And then the lady goes, "No." And he goes, "Would you smother me with your beautiful American body?" And Larry brings him back.
Later on, you see him talking to that girl. Like, she thought it was cute.
Right.
And Larry, this girl's watching Larry, and he goes over. Before he can even say anything, her big bruiser boyfriend just grabs him. It's so funny.
And
that's my girlfriend.
Yeah, and then he drags him out and presumably out of the club and presumably beats him up. And as we know now, that guy comes back in other sort of group scenes that are filmed on that same set of a room that are different places.
That's the guy that always reminds me of like Dit Butkus from the Bears. He's wearing a Bears jersey, but he's got the mustache. Who is the coach of the Bears? Oh, people are gonna be really mad at me. Mike Ditka from the Bears is who he reminds me of.
Yeah.
Jeez, I should know that living in Chicago. I'm sorry, Chicago sports fans. I'm not a sports guy. What do you get? Anyways, that's the end of that flashback. We dissolve back to present day. Everyone is laughing at Larry.
They're laughing so hard. They're like howling and cackling. And
Harriet's like, "Boy, I wish I could see that. I'm a sucker for a cheap laugh." She says, "Right to him."
Yeah. And then Larry's like, "Wait, that's not the way I remember it." And they're like, "Well, did you get beat up or not?" And he said, "Well, beat up is such a strong term."
And then Harriet goes, "Sounds like he got his butt kicked." She's just mean. It's great.
And so Larry jumps, and they're all laughing. Larry jumps in again to try to defend himself, and he tells them that there have been countless times that Balky has needed Larry, and Larry has been there for him. And he mentions the time, for example, that Balky invited his friend Gina to stay with them while her husband was out of town and while she was very, very pregnant, about to give birth any moment. And she, in fact, went into labor while she was staying with them in the middle of the night. And Larry says, and if I had not been there with one of my foolproof plans,
one of the Larry plans.
Well, there's no telling what would have happened. And then Lydia says, that's not the way I heard it. And she starts retelling again, third hand, because she must have heard it from
from Balky.
Balky.
Balky tells incredibly detailed stories to his friends, and they remember.
Balky talks about their personal business too much.
Yes, they remember every bit, and this takes us to the third flashback of the episode. This is the first episode of season 2, titled "Hello, Baby," and again, lots of great things in this whole baby scene. I'm just going to start with Balky's Spider-Man pajamas.
This was the Spider-Man pajamas.
Yes, him and Larry are sleeping on the sofa because Gina's in the bedroom, and Larry is sleeping with Dimitri, and he wakes up and he's like, why is this sheep here? What's happening? But the Spider-Man pajamas, are my favorite.
And
piece
remember
of clothing.
earlier in that episode, our favorite line, Larry's like, what are those? He's like, these are my Spider-Man pajamas. And he's like, why are you wearing them? Because my He-Man pajamas are in the lounge.
So, of course, the baby's coming, and Larry's like, okay, let's go.
Don't panic.
Don't panic. And I do his plan. He knocks the lamp over.
He has the timer in his hand.
He's got the stopwatch.
I'm practicing, yeah.
He calls the hospital and goes, hospital, baby is coming. But then he can't find. He's like, where are my pants? Yeah. Where's the closet? Where are my keys? And they lose Gina. And it's just great physical, frantic Larry.
It's frantic. It's like one of the first times we saw a frantic Larry.
Also, the only time we've seen Balky slap Larry to try to slap some sense into him, which was also so funny. He's like, don't be mad at me for this.
And they lose
and then he
Gina.
Smacks him. Yeah, he's throwing the coats on Gina, and she has to carry everything. He's like, where is Gina? Where is the mother? We can't do this without the mother. He's just freaking out.
And then Balky slaps him.
And
then they leave.
They kind of calm down. Yeah, and they leave. And that will take us to the end of Act 1. Listener, join the conversation. If you have comments, observations, thoughts on these episodes, season 4 that we're going through, we have a Facebook group. There's a link in the show description. You can join it. It's a private, exclusive group just for you. You can leave your comments, and we will share them at the end of the show. It's also a great place to meet other diehard Perfect Strangers fans like us and our listeners. You guys are amazing, amazingly dedicated to the Perfect Strangers universe. PSU. That's what I call
PSU.
It. Like the MCU, this is the PSU.
All right, let's roll into the second act. We're still in the apartment. We're back in present day, 1988, present day. And they're all laughing. Everyone's still laughing at Larry. And
that's their favorite thing they like to do.
And then they start worrying because they feel like Balky's been gone for too long taking this test. They said he should have been back by now. And Lydia's like, oh my God, what if he froze or something? What if his mind went blank and he couldn't remember a thing? What if he got dizzy and the room started spinning and he started hyperventilating?
She starts hyperventilating.
And she starts doing it. And then this was just a moment for Harriet and Lydia to quip again. And then Harriet says, you mean like what happens to you when you sit down to write your advice column?
Oh, snap.
Oh, burn.
I love this line. And Lydia goes, all right. I'm just not going to talk anymore. That way no one can make fun of me.
And she crosses to sit on another chair away from Harriet.
And Larry's trying to calm everyone down. And he's like, look, we're worried about Balky. Maybe I should have gone down there with him. He tells them, Balky always needs his help in these types of high-pressure situations. And then he mentions his first day at work and how he wouldn't have gotten through his first day of work if it wasn't for
Larry's help.
At which point, again, Harriet stops Larry. Goes, wait a minute.
He goes,
I was there, and I would call what you did help. And now she goes.
Starts to,
yeah.
Yeah.
Now she's
first-hand story.
So maybe in this one, she was standing off by the elevator and watching everything, and we just didn't see her. Okay. So I'll give it this one.
No, she came back, I think, like outside of the clip, like right after. I think she came back in that episode, right?
At least she was somewhere nearby when the story happened. This is the fourth flashback of the episode. Listener from another episode 1, season 3. Is that right? Episode 1. Yeah, we were at season 2.
That's right, because season 3 is when they started working at the newspaper.
So they're just running through like the first episodes of the first 3 seasons so far. All the news that fits season 3, episode 1. And again, some great physical comedy with the mimeograph machine, corporally forcing him. The tie getting caught, him trying to plug it in, while Larry is trying to finish this article. I do love the bit where I forgot the publisher's name.
It was Larry's first article that he had been asked to write for the newspaper.
I just love the publisher going, Appleby. Mr.
Burns.
Mr. Burns, yeah, just gets his name wrong over and over again.
Until he sees the draft. But so the physical comedy in this was about the mimeograph machine and the tie and the choking.
Cousin, it's alive and it's hungry. It's great. And then the quick way
the
Balky...
The plug.
Oh, yeah, pull the plug. The quick way Balky sneaks in and snips his tie while he's talking to Mr. Burns. I always love that. And then, of course, Balky pulls out a draft from the garbage and gives it to Mr. Burns, and
he likes it.
He likes it.
And then he says, "See you on Monday, Appleton," the correct name.
And he finally calls him and then we never see Mr. Burns again after that season. I don't know what happened. He got replaced.
We go back to the living room, present day, and again, everyone is laughing except Larry.
At Larry.
And then he goes, all right. That particular time, Balky was more help to me than I was to him, but that was an exception.
He did save his job there. Yeah, Balky did.
Yeah. He said more often than not, he wouldn't know what to do unless I led him by the hand. Come on, you guys know that. Why do I feel like I'm defending myself? Think of all the times that if I wasn't there, he wouldn't know what to do. And then everyone just sits there quietly.
They're all thinking they got nothing. There is no time that if Larry wasn't there, Balky wouldn't know what to do. That they.
And he asks everyone, and they're like, "Nothing. I got nothing." And he asks Harriet, he asks Lydia, nothing. And then Marianne goes, "I've got one."
Oh.
And Larry's like, "Okay, see." And she goes, "I remember the time you taught Balky all about plumbing."
Uh-oh. That's not the good time.
And then she starts launching into the story about when she and Jennifer were out of town, and Larry decided to, instead of calling the plumber as they had asked him to do, decided to do the plumbing work himself.
So here, Balky must have told Marianne, like, everything that happened.
Yeah.
Like, even the bad stuff. This is the 5th and final flashback for the episode from the season 3, episode 17, episode titled Pipe Dreams. And
one of our favorites.
By far, this is the funniest clip. This is probably the greatest physical comedy. It's up there. We'll get into some other ones later. But it's one of the best bits where, it starts after they have demolished the bathroom. And they're sitting there, and there's holes in the walls. And it's the most hilarious bit. It starts with that bit you love where Balky picks up the pipe.
Yes.
He's like, cousin, what do we do with this?
He holds up this pipe that, like, presumably they're finished with the work, and then they stand up to, like, start cleaning up, and Balky finds this huge pipe with, like, a valve on it in the room. And he's like, where did this go? Where does this go?
And then so
they're standing up in front of the bathtub, and behind them on the wall is, like, holes in the wall, holes in the tile, exposed pipe. And Balky's holding the pipe. They're standing next to each other, shoulder to shoulder. Larry turns to his right and his head to his right to look back.
They both look
into
back.
the bath area. Yeah. And Balky follows them. So it's in sync. Yeah. They both turn their head, look behind them at the shower situation. And it's quiet for like a long time. And then they slowly turn back and Larry looks at the pipe and Balky looks at the pipe and it's quiet. And then Larry just goes, trash.
So good, and he just tosses it aside.
So good, and I knew he was going to say
The
that.
timing is so great. Of course, that's when they try to test it, and the knobs come off, and water starts
And we
shooting
have this
out
water scene
of the
that
shower,
is so funny.
the sink,
Yes.
the toilet under the sink. And there's
Just water.
And by the end, there's legit like 2 inches of water. Stuff is floating around, and it ends with Larry is hilarious, just going, well. After that,
Yeah,
just
so
soaked.
this was one that we had talked about.
Oh,
That was
so
like
good.
one of the classic physical comedy scenes that we loved so much and remembered our whole lives. And one that I imagine they had to do in one take because it involved water and like them getting wet and all this stuff. So
Yeah, and it was fantastic.
done.
It was so funny.
yeah.
So then we come back to present day, back to the living room where Marianne's looking a little guilty. And she's like, maybe that wasn't a good example. But then Larry is like, he's starting to see the truth. And he goes, I haven't been helping Balky. I've been holding him back. And then it hits him that, oh my God, he helped him study for his entrance exam. He thinks he went down there and failed because of him. And he goes, I should get out of his life. Larry is like at the lowest. After these stories, you can kind of understand. I felt bad for Larry when suddenly new person enters the room, sister.
The front door busts open, Balky runs in, and he's like, look at me, I'm a college man. And he's wearing like a college, I think it says City College of Chicago sweatshirt.
Everybody cheers.
And a cap. He's got college merch. And everyone cheers for him and gets up to go meet him and hug him. And they start singing He's a Jolly Good Fellow, but Balky stops them. And he says, before you sing, there's something I want to say. Like mint.
Oh, wait, but he got the name of the song wrong. He goes, before you sing for He's a Jolly Good Felon.
Yes.
He thinks the song is He's a Jolly Good. It's a prison song.
There's something, and he wants to say something. He says, like so many other things that have happened to me since I come to this country, I couldn't have done this without my cousin Larry.
Aww.
Oh, so Larry immediately cheers up again. He says, really? And then he says, see, he couldn't have done it without me. He says, what was it? The coaching I gave you on the language section, or the help I gave you with the math drills, or the mnemonic coding I gave you to remember the history dates? And Balky was like, really, I was referring to the fact that you loaned me your pencil. And he holds up a pencil. And then Larry just looks at it again. He goes, no, I'm just kidding.
He's
cousin.
messing with him.
That's
Great.
college humor.
That's college humor. He's a college man.
And then they do a dance of joy with the Now We Are So Happy. Cousin, what do you say? Now we are so happy. We do the dance of joy.
We get a dance of joy, truly a moment
Which we
to
haven't
celebrate.
seen in a while.
Yeah,
Yes.
and that is how the episode ends. Roll credits. No lesson time.
There's
I
no
guess.
lesson time because there were like lots of lessons. Or maybe it's a lesson to Larry actually throughout this episode that like,
He shouldn't be in Balky's life.
shouldn't be as full of himself as he is in terms of like being proud of how he's helped Balky. But then there's also this note that like Balky is very appreciative of their friendship and his help. And
The lesson is, listener, if you enjoy the show and you're looking for a way to support us, you can always buy some swag from our TeePublic shop at danceofjoypod.com/shop. Lots of fun things
get a
with our
coffee
logo.
mug, get a face mask, get a sticker.
There's a laptop case.
t-shirt.
There's cell cases. There's hoodies, T-shirts. It's getting nice out. You're going to need a tank top in wonderful colors. They're super comfy. Check it out. Link in the show description. So, yeah, at the end, that shirt he's wearing says, be a winner, dial college. And this was a logo for actual city colleges of Chicago. Because I guess you could dial the word, it's 7 letters.
College.
You can dial the college on the phone, and that's pretty clever. City colleges of Chicago got that number.
I wonder if they really had like an entrance exam.
We should dial college now and see where the number
See what
goes.
happens.
Yeah. And also notable, we talked about, so obviously flashback episode, we talked about how sometimes shows get lazy and they use flashback episodes. This one was necessary because of the ear infection and the quicksand, and it is also the only time they do a clip show.
Okay, interesting.
So to their credit, I guess we'll find out they'd rather just recycle bits than put the clips out together. Just change a few things. We're running it again. Nobody's going to remember.
So I have a question for you. What are your thoughts about the selection of clips?
That is a great question.
I mean, like, my first understanding as we're talking about it now, and as I just watched the episode, is like, okay, the premise they put out was like situations where Larry thought he was teaching Balky something, and then everyone laughs at him because it was the opposite. So, but that's like every episode. You could have pulled any. You could have pulled any clip.
Well, I'm wondering if they were thinking about doing like the best of, like the greatest hits.
Well, if it was the greatest.
So Pipe Dreams definitely belongs to be in this
like
episode.
where is Bibi Bobka's?
I would have put some other ones. The Bibi Bobka episode. We some of our listeners have come up with better ideas.
Oh yeah. I mean, they had to keep it pretty limited. How many were there altogether? Just 4.
Yeah, there was 5.
5.
Yeah, there's 3 in the first half, 2 in the second. You had to start. I mean, starting with the very first episode.
Yeah, the intro I would definitely. Yeah, first episode I would definitely keep. What was this? Let's go through.
But there's so many good bits that it must have been hard to pick.
I don't know why. I don't know
the first date
why
one,
they would have chosen the singles bar.
The singles bar, maybe you could replace the Gina is funny with the baby scene.
Gina and the baby,
right? That's some frantic, great scene. And I mean, the mimeograph
singles bar wasn't that. Yeah,
is also good.
Yeah.
If you had to pick something from season 3, but there's also other ones. We'll get into it. Let's find out. What our listeners thought, sister.
Yes. So. We have, as always, some of our regular listeners sending their thoughts. Cousin Pam Hitchcock wrote, "Nice that Balky's continuing his education, but did it need a clip show? For schmaltziness, unoriginality, and laziness, I give 9.5 Baba Stickies."
Oh, Baba Sticky is bad? I thought you want to give it a low Baba Sticky number. Oh, Baba Sticky is bad.
Baba Sticky is bad.
It's BS,
High is
right.
bad. Yes.
What a load of Baba Sticky.
Complicated Dance of Joy review system.
I was thinking of Bibi Bobkas. That's why I got confused. That would be good. 9.5 Bibi Bobkas is good.
Yes.
9.5 Baba Stickies.
They're inverse. Bibi Bobkas are inverse
of the Baba Sticky. Yes, get the B words. It's very important.
So what do you think about her comment? Yeah.
I mean, it's a little lazy.
It was out of necessity. We know that now. So if we didn't have that bit of information, then maybe I would agree.
The only defense I can make for them is that maybe they didn't have a lot of time. Like this happened very quickly.
Right. Like I would say you could write another episode or a story without Balky, or alter like a future script without, and have like Balky be away or something and have a regular storyline. But we don't know what was going on with the writers. We don't know what they had how quickly they had to put this together. Maybe this was just the only thing they could.
But you think of the cast you have, like they're so talented. You could have given them anything and without Balky at all, and just kind of wrote them out until you knew. But they weren't. I don't even think they were sure that Balky was going to come back to shoot this last scene.
Right. So they needed something.
They needed something.
And also, I'm not sure, in season 4, and really is out of necessity. And again, we don't know how much time they had or whatever.
It's early to do a clip
or how much
show.
like pre-written future episodes they had to work with. But the show is really a Balky and Larry show. Like it wouldn't have made sense to have a random episode that wasn't centered on Balky-Larry relationship. You know what I'm saying? Like on a side character or on a Larry thing. But you could have had like Balky on the phone or something.
Yep.
But I think maybe it didn't. My hunch is that it didn't make sense to have another storyline that didn't involve Balky.
I wonder if there was some kind of clip show they could have made with unaired footage that got cut.
Oh, that would have been fun, yeah.
Right? It would have been really weird to see something from a past show that's clearly from that episode, but we never saw it.
Oh, we haven't seen it before. That would have been fun. Again, we don't know like what they were working with or how much time they had.
It's not like they had digital files they could just pull up and like, let's scan this quickly and see.
They had to like
this is all cut.
Oh, they probably had
film.
like production staff.
Yeah, but this is like actual film and video. You have to like forward through it and find the tape and make sure it's done. That's a lot of work, and considering you didn't know what was going to happen with Bronson Pinchot's ear.
Yeah, that's right.
Not everybody thought it was lazy. One of our new group members, Gabitha Edwards Wilcox, says inventive way of doing an episode for memories.
Oh, very nice.
Yeah, you know what? It is inventive, but that's the situation you are given.
Yeah. Cousin Lauren Miller writes, I remember hearing/reading that Bronson Pinchot wasn't available for the whole episode, so they opted for the clips. Honestly, they could have done something with all of the other three characters. Okay, so she agrees with what you just.
But again, do you want?
I don't think it would have made sense. Yeah, right. Because the crux of the show is about Balky and Larry and their dynamic.
Cousin John was a little disappointed by this episode. He goes, I can't tell if I'm more disappointed in the clips they chose or the fact that they got all the supporting characters together to do nothing. It's not awful since most of the clips are pretty funny, but it feels like a lost opportunity. What clips would everyone else have chosen? He says, I think I'd go with the surprise karate attack in the apartment. Yes, that was a great one where Balky's a ninja. And Cousin Pam adds just off the top of my head. I would have mentioned his excitement about learning how to drive and getting a driver's license. That would have been funny. Maybe the check. I think the checks episode is kind of funny, too.
Checks would have been good. And it doesn't really fit this theme of Balky coming far, but one of my favorite laugh out loud scenes that I always remember is in Larry's birthday when Balky tries to throw the cake out the window, but the window closed.
Oh my God, that would have been a great bit. And of course, anything from Just Desserts from the Bibi Bobka episode would have been great. But those
or Raisin Poofs.
Oh, Raisin Poofs with the stock episode?
Yeah. I don't know. It's just a funny episode.
There's the Defiant guys had the stuff with the mobster. Oh, yeah. That was kind of fun.
Oh yeah, that's
or the stuff where they go.
There was a lot.
The one where they go undercover and try to bust the guy at the school. That's hilarious. What they're wearing. So I don't know, but they picked stuff from the first 3 seasons because they had to. That's all.
I mean, I just get the impression that they really didn't have a lot of time, and they had to put out another show on schedule. And in all of these clips, we didn't hear a single "Don't be ridiculous."
Of course I have. Don't be ridiculous.
No, we didn't. There it is.
That's a disappointment.
You do see Dimitri Sheep on in the bookcase. Did you see what he was wearing?
Yeah, Dimitri Sheep was wearing a black graduation cap and gown.
Yeah, he graduated too. They're both college. He's a college sheep now.
He's a college sheep.
Taking college sheep
Dimitri
classes.
Sheep also dialed college.
Yes.
And now we're at the segment of our show that we call Perfect Strangers Today or PS Today. And typically here we talk about if the story or situation in this episode were to be remade today in 2022, how would it be different? Would it still hold up? What kind of changes in the environment would happen? And my thoughts first off are just like the stuff we've been talking about, how and why we would do a clip show now, and they'd probably have more access to particular moments, and things are a lot faster too, like in terms of getting your digital video and going through it.
And more about specific things like a graduation party, a congratulations party looks a lot different now. I mean, it looks a little bit the same, but also not as.
Also, are there still entrance exams? Like, where would Balky be to find out? Because now you just get an email or something that says you're in or not.
You can go to college entirely online, like University of Phoenix. Like, you don't dial college anymore. You bring it up on the computer.
You go to college.com.edu.
And you're
college.edu. Yeah, so the whole premise would be different. It would have to be like, I think this
higher
premise wouldn't really stand
What is
up.
higher education these days? That's basically.
Yeah, so we wouldn't have Balky like away and them waiting for him to come back from somewhere.
Oh, he would have called them right away also.
Yeah, or like texted them, or like they'd all be seeing the email together. So we'd need a whole new premise. So like if the same situation happened where one actor was out and couldn't make it back.
You get them on FaceTime so that they can just, wherever they are, they can record their part,
Yeah, exactly. You would write in sort of like a FaceTime. Yeah, exactly. Show.
That's really it. Aside from that, it's it's a clip show is a clip show. But join us next week when the writing gets better, the emotional gets better, the characters get better. We have a Christmas party with Mr. Gorpley, and I'm not kidding. By the end of this, it had me in the fields. I was near tears.
Aw.
They did such a good job
Yeah,
in
I
this
love a
Christmas
good-
party with Gorpley. I really like the next episode.
I'm looking forward to an emotional Christmas episode.
It's a little more substantial than this kind of filler
good.
episode,
They
unfortunately.
they had to compensate.
This is how you pivot. You know, you got to think on the fly. This is what they did, but they come back solid next week, listeners. So stay subscribed, follow, and support the show. If you visit our website, danceofjoypod.com/support, will take you to our buy us a coffee button, where you can buy us a virtual coffee and support the show that way. There's many ways to support. We'd love to see any kind of support.
Yes, and if you would like to follow us on other places, you can also find that information at danceofjoypod.com. There we have all the links where you can find our podcast. You can listen, subscribe, leave us a rating or a review. There are also links to all of our social media accounts. We're on the Facebooks, the Twitters, the Instagram. It's all there on our danceofjoy.pod. I did it too. danceofjoypod.com website. And you can leave us a voice message right from that page or send us an email at danceofjoypod@gmail.com. We love to hear from you. If you're following along with us, tell us what Perfect Strangers means to you in your life. We love to hear it. And we just want to keep doing this thing where we're spreading 22 minutes of joy via Perfect Strangers to as many people as possible. But Imran, what is the most important thing our listeners should do?
Well, if you want to be a winner, you pick up your phone, you dial college, apparently.
This is true.
The sweatshirt
This is
says the
very
truth.
true.
But the second most important thing, of course, share the show. Get it out there to all your 80s people who still love the 80s. The 80s are very much coming back, still in style, very popular now. It's crazy. Thank you for listening. Now, we are so happy.
Now we are so happy we do the dance of joy!
Hey, 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 hey.